222. So I'm going to do my best to not jump ahead, take my notes and take my time. And I'm practicing. What I'd like to offer to my students, if you decide to watch this, and first of all, if I decide to post this, is that Mondays will be my pre-day. So I look like this. I'm in bed. I'm taking notes. I'm going to record this so I can watch it and take more notes. But I'd like to offer that, like, if you know I'm going to miss this coming Tuesday, you could watch. I guess they'll be recorded. Never mind. If you want to be live, I guess, if you want to like interact with me live during the class, all my classes will be recorded and provided online. But this would be if you wanted to I'm going to ask Brian, let's see about recording. Okay, so hi, I'm Katie. Normally I do 11 minutes in the beginning of this. We're gonna just count the first few minutes as 11 minutes for the sake of this class. If there were people live on here, I probably will do that, but on the ones that people aren't there, I won't do the 11-minute intro. The 11-minute intro is just so that if someone sits down and they have their drink and, they're just about to pay attention, they haven't got their pen out, but they've got their books and they're just getting settled. It gives someone the opportunity to get their book out or whatever they're about to do. So that 11-minute soft intro is how I start my classes. Hopefully I will be doing my in-person classes starting Taurus season, which is we begin that one Friday, April 21st. Friday, April 21st will be our first class for Taurus season. I'm hoping that will be streamed live in the nature park somehow, some way, or a nature park. So let's jump in. If you come and wait, welcome. You're welcome, wanted, and needed. I'm thrilled to have you join us. If you have a question, please wait until the question screen. I'll fill you in. And if you jump in, don't feel like you need to like apologize in the chat or even verbally. Life happens. You're a grown up. I'm a grown up. We all have our priorities. We all know our self-care. I don't need to police you. Don't feel bad. Big hugs, deep breath, center, sit back and relax. You're about to get some information. So what is this? The Power of 12 by 12 is this class that I created when I kept seeing this 12 overarching theme in all of these healing practices. It's the number behind this conceptual mark of completion in many cultures, from 12 hours on the clock, 12 hours in the year, 12 steps, 12 tradition, 12 promises, 12 apostles, 12 days of Christmas, 12, 12, 12. There's 12 zodiac signs. I need to add zodiac because the night that I did this, it was zodiacs. Add zodiac to slide 2. It's a kindergarten instruction type thing. We're going to talk about our feelings. I have like visual aids downstairs. I have scales and I have magnifying glasses, and I can show you visually, as I'm a visual learner, how I applied this spiritual exercise I did. Okay. It's kind of like group therapy. It's a safe space to share, grow, and learn. It's just like, but here's the thing with any class, whether you receive this college course credit that you can transfer to another accredited college, or if it's just your local park and rec that you paid, $300 to take a course. You're never going to get, you're just not accredited, but you want something out of it. That's why you spent the money. And that's why you spent the money on this class, hopefully. And if you didn't, that's why you applied for financial aid. You asked, hey, I really want to take this class, even if I can't afford it. Can I come? So you're here. So question people have asked me, homework, what do I need to do? What do I need? Showing up for class is great. But again, what you put in, you get out. I have a list of supplies. I have a list of books I want people to have, so that you can really get the most out of this class. But if you can just show up once a week, prepared with an open mind, being able to listen, minimal distractions, you're going to be amazed before you're halfway through. So this class covers all the 12 steps, and tonight we're going to go over 12 traditions and 12 steps. And 12 steps and 12 traditions come from a 12-step recovery process. So, a lot of times I'm not an alcoholic. My parents were totally normal. I'm not really in recovery. That part of your class isn't going to go. That's not going to help me. So remember, this course covers all 12 sections of humans through several viewpoints. We humans are here 12 months a year, 12-hour clock. Yep, we blend that cyclical teachings with other cyclical teachings, because the steps never end. The zodiacs never end. The minute we end Pisces, we begin Aries season. We end one and we begin the next. Moon cycles, our emotional sobriety cycles. It's been my experience that one human can survive enormous amounts of grief and pain without suffering, if you do follow these things. So you as a human, you might not be addicted to alcohol. You might not identify as growing up in an alcoholic or dysfunctional home. However, I will challenge and say, because of the society we live in, most likely you're addicted to something. You probably run into an occasion where you feel powerless over a situation, a sick family member, death of a loved one or a pet, natural disaster impacting our home, seeing the things that are on the news, or even something as simple as having a child we can't quite reach or help. I know that sounds funny, as as simple as, because we have this child in our home and it seems like I should be able to reach their heart and their soul. They're part of me and I can't. The steps will help with things like that, the things that we're powerless over, while also becoming like a distraction. When we start taking more mental health days, when we start missing work, when we can't get out of bed, when we can't show up for ourselves, when our lives become unmanageable, right? And I'm the queen of that. I've struggled with a lot of unmanageability, and in some areas of my life, I'm still unmanageable. The progress, not perfection part is great in recovery. We'll get to that in a minute. So important information and disclaimers at this point. This is not an ACA or ACA meeting. I'm charging for this class. Recovery is free. So this is a class that teaches a holistic approach to healing from childhood trauma. And I have found a lot of this through 12-step program, but I've also found a lot of it through my own resources of books on zodiac signs and my own effort in creating and writing this program. But it's not a substitute for AA. It's not a substitute for ACA. And I'm not a licensed therapist or counselor. I have an equivalent of associate's degree, where I would have a associate's in of arts with early childhood education. Probably why I work well with adult children. I understand that little kid feeling, and it's interesting because my Jupiter's in the 3rd house. I understand how it feels as a little kid, and I've been stuck in my inner child for a really long time, slowly recovering myself through grief and finding my true self. So that being said, confidentiality concerns, I do these classes in 3-month sections. I I want to have all members of my class feel safe. I am going to open this up to the public. So while a lot of my friends and family know me and like to come to my classes and support me, I will want to protect their anonymity and respect their privacy. And so we'll be having the confidentiality agreement go out with this once, people sign up for the class and they're participating. Again, the more you participate, the more you get out. And that might change. Maybe through this course of developing this course, I move it over to more of a open house and get funding elsewhere. That could happen too. But at this point, that's kind of where my head's at. And like I said, location, right now I want to have the location change from season to season. I found a great place for Leo season. I'm so excited. I really hope that works out. Inner Child, Sunday night, 7 o'clock, July, August weather at Hag Lake. You can't go wrong. Supplies will be on a separate stream. Syllabus, you'll get it sent to you if you participate. Forms to be completed again. This is our suggested supplies and books. We're doing birth charts. We're doing step work in AA, ACA. We're bouncing from that to the Bible. We're bouncing that to astrology, to tarot, to all of these different areas. Bill Wilson, and I guess it's like we're watching the watcher, right? So we're going to be observing who wrote the things. So when we talk about AA, we really do talk about the time and place in which that was created in history. We talk about the time and place in which the Bible was written. Who wrote the Bible, or why did they write the Bible, and why did they see the things they saw? If Matthew's writing it, he's a Capricorn, he's a tax collector, he worked for the Roman government. Okay. So those kinds of things really will highlight why someone would write what they would write. We'll get into that. So if you have some of them, if you have none of them, you can still participate. I'm still going to lecture. I am one that likes to follow along. I have a fear of being manipulated through somebody's words, and rightfully so. So I always want to do my best in having where I got my information from as clear as possible. And if it's just the world according to Katie and it's just my words, I'm going to claim those too. If I'm wrong, so be it. A lot of people are wrong, but I think I'm right about a lot of things. So here we go. How this class is set up. It's a class designed to funnel my experience, strength, and hope into a safe framework. Okay. So these are things that I did that worked for me. And that's where I go into the coaching aspect as opposed to a counselor or a therapist. I'm not going to share so much about you. I'm not going to absorb you. I'm going to share about me. And if something in me can help you and you can mirror me, great. It's a great fit. If not, that's okay. There are probably someone out there that has more of a mirrored like experience than you, and that's cool. If you want to come just to support me, that's cool too. So there's all kinds of levels, but this is what my framework is. I do an introduction, like I said, about the 11 minutes, and then we'll do this review weekly, the expectation, the goals, just like we just did, and then questions. How long is this going to take? That's why I'm recording this. This is how come I'm practicing. At that point, I will lecture for about 25 to 35 minutes on the topic. This week is recovery, step 1, tradition 1. We'll do a group activity group this week. It's identifying vocabulary words and finding the parallels to last week's Aries Mars house 1. We'll get to that at the very end. We'll wrap up with questions, and then I'm going to read something that I wrote today. Katie@swanmagic.com is my email. Use it with questions or concerns. My office hours are flexible. You are my client. You have paid for this class. And with private education, you get direct access to your instructor. That is the gift. That is the benefit of paying for private instruction. So if you've paid for this class, email me. Seriously. That's what you did. Okay. Any questions so far? Right now I'm trying to do it with $1. I keep bouncing back and forth on my prices. But just go over to swanmagic.com, click classes, sign up for class. It's 100% worth it. Okay, so let's jump in. Alcoholics Anonymous, what is that? It is a free organization. The only requirement to join is a desire to stop drinking. It's founded by these gentlemen in the 1930s. They use a book called The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's called Alcoholics Anonymous, so we call it The Big Book. There's also a book called 12 Steps to 12 Traditions, also known as the 12 by 12, as Bill Sees It. And there is also a magazine called The Grapevine. So As Bill Sees It is this little book. Mine is upside down. So like me. The AA Way of Life, Selected Writings of AA Co-Founder. I joke and say I'm him reincarnated. That's why I got mine upside down. So I put like as Katie sees it. I make my own little notes. I had said on my previous class that this week we would go over page 47, Seeing is Believing. The Wright brothers' almost childish faith that they could build a machine which would fly was the mainspring of their accomplishment. Without that, nothing could have happened. We agnostics and atheists were sticking to the idea that self-sufficiency would solve our problems. When others showed us that God's sufficiency worked with them, we began to feel like those who insisted the Wrights would never fly. We were seeing another kind of flight, a spiritual liberation from this world, people who rose above their problems. And it's called Seeing is Believing. I often feel that way about me. If you would have told me that this was the life that I would be living after all that I have gone through, I would have laughed you off the stage. There was no way that I would be here in the world that I am living right now. And yet here I am teaching a class about the Bible, about Alcoholics Anonymous, about pain, about grief, about hard work, about faith, about surrender, about real emotions that I once tried to numb because I was scared. Grapevine. This one, let me see if I have a copy of this book. This is my big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. My sober date is 12/6/2020 was the last time I was drunk. So this is my big book, and this is my 12 by 12. I had a copy of the Grapevine right here. Yeah, so it's their publication. It's the thing that has the preamble in it. That's why I like to bring mine to, like I said, I'm one of those people that bring everything to the AA meeting because I want to make sure that someone's read it right, or that if they read it wrong, I'm at least reading it right. You know what I mean? Like if they say out loud wrong, I don't want to absorb their wrongness. I want to read the rightness. Don't know if any of that just made sense, but that's how I feel. Okay. Oops, sorry. Keep going. ACA. It's also known, it's adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. ACA, it's also known as ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a 12-step program for people who grew up with alcoholic parents or dysfunctional homes. They have a little bit different approach to the 12 steps. It's more of a sharing of the experience, strength, and hope. When abuse, neglect, and trauma infected us like a disease, it affects us today and influences how we deal with all aspects of our life. ACA provides a safe, non-judgmental environment that allows us to grieve our childhoods and conduct an honest inventory of ourselves and our family. So A, we can identify and heal core trauma, and B, have experienced that freedom from shame and abandonment, and C, become our own inner loving parent. This fellowship is a 12-step program that uses a big red book of, and this is mine. I covered mine like a school book because I had trauma with a red book from religion. So step one, honesty, admission. I was going to read from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, pages 104 through 106. But first, I kind of wanted to talk about what the step one is. So step one of Alcoholics Anonymous is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step one of adult children of Alcoholics Anonymous and dysfunctional families is we admitted we were powerless over the effects of alcoholism or other family dysfunction, that our lives had become unmanageable. And see how it kind of ties in with this honesty is through this admission, and how it kind of links up with this page 47, seen as believing, with this honesty of self, this honesty of this expression is that house one where this plays out in. And Aries is very honest. They're very expressive. Mars is passionate and expressive, right? So this is this expression that we're saying something, we're starting something, we're admitting something. And that is the first step, becoming honest with ourselves. I'm going to go back. Oh, big red book. That's why. Oh, yes. Lastly, any discussion about ACA powerlessness and unmanageability is incomplete without the disease concept of alcoholism family dysfunction. When alcoholic or other dysfunction is present in the family, every member is affected. We are affected in the body, mind, and spirit. Through the first 18 years of our lives, our family had 6,570 days to shame, belittle, ignore, criticize, or manipulate us during the most formative years of our being. That is 160,000 hours of living in dysfunction with unhealthy parenting. That is 72 seasons of sorrow stored deeply in the tissues of our bodies. The dysfunction is encoded into our souls as the false self. To survive this long exposure to family dysfunction, our minds develop deeply entrenched roles and traits that change the meaning of words and experiences. Some of us misremembered the damaging nature of the abuse because we depended upon our abusers for food and shelter. So it's a very powerless energy. We never got to speak about our family secrets. And it says we urge patience and gentleness when addressing these areas of our lives. That means take care of ourselves. We do the step work and program work necessary to reap the benefits of the promises, right? So that is being honest with ourselves. Because I said I wanted to jump in with traditions, I wanted to go over tradition one. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity or ACA unity. So that step one is this honesty, that admission that we are powerless and that there's unmanageability. And that's about us. Tradition one is also about us. Even though so you hear in a meeting, the steps save our lives so we don't kill ourselves, and the tradition saves the others so that we don't kill people in AA or ACA, right? So traditions protect the group, steps protect us. And if you're working the steps, you're able to respect the traditions. That's usually a hand-in-hand thing. If you're not working the steps and you're just touting the traditions, watch out, because you'll be humbled. That scale is out of whack. Trust me, I was one of those people. So it's this honesty with our group, right? It's this unity for our personal reasons, because while it's our common welfare coming first, it's for our personal recovery. It's for ourselves. It's that part of our honest and expressive Aries. It's our passionate and expressive Mars. It's our honesty admission in step 1, and it's our house 1 self-expression, our honesty of ourself. Who are we? So step 1, tradition 1. What does an AA meeting look like? They go over a preamble, steps or how it works. They read traditions. There's a chairperson or a chair. They'll share their experience, strength, or hope, or what it was like and what happened and what's like now. There are things like a topic meeting, a speaker meeting, a big book meeting. So there are all different kinds of meetings. You can find ones online at aa.org. Go to meetings. You can find one at any time, anywhere in the world, online for free. I'll stop at this point and share my experience, strength, and hope. If I were asked to share on step 1, I will go for, let's see, 5 minutes. I don't know how long I am right now, and there's a little owl. Make your interactions and daily routines more stimulating, exciting, and unusual. It is good for mental and creative work. That's my twin flame notification. Okay, with a little owl on it. Noted. Okay, so let's put the timer on for, do it for 7 minutes. Okay, here we go. Oh, I started at 2:22, so I'm at 20 minutes. That's fine. Hi, I'm Katie. I'm an alcoholic. And I'll start with the serenity prayer just because I am doing a share. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So like I said, my name is Katie. I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to share on step 1 and a little bit on step 2. I mean, on tradition 1, but I say page 333 in the big book. So if you know me, I am very spiritual, and I love numbers, and I will set this stage. I was sitting in my cottage at my old house crying because I didn't feel like I was really an alcoholic, that I was trying to work this 12-step program that felt really judgy and really like Jehovah's Witnessy. And I just wanted my boyfriend back, or my whatever he was back, and just really unhappy. And my sponsor and I were working on step 1 over the phone because of COVID. And I had been going to meetings, and I feel like this was November before my relapse, but I said something like, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. I have a nice house, you know, like I have nice clothes. Like those people are like dirty. I don't need to go to those kinds of meetings where like they're wearing a trench coat and they got the brown paper bag over their, you know, 5th of whiskey that they're drinking. They smell bad. And like, I like have an iPhone, like I've got a Coach purse, like, no. And she just like chuckled and was like, I hear you. Wasn't judgmental, but just said, okay, Katie, I got to get off the phone. She was really good with boundaries, but I want you to do one thing for me. I want you to open up the big book. I want you to flip through. I want you to see if you find a page. And if it resonates with you, like, let's see what your higher power has to say about this. So I said, fair enough. So I opened up the big book, and you can see that there is a smudge on it. There's tears, because I always cry on this page because this is what I opened it up to. I will start out by saying that rivers are very significant for me. I've always wanted to live at the river. And I lost my virginity along the river. I was born at American River Hospital. I bought a house along the river where my husband took his life. It shares the name with the person that I loved, that I lost. And there's a lot of significance for rivers for me. And yeah, so I'll just start there. The thing I opened up to is page 333 of the big book. And at the top, the chapter is called Crossing the River of Denial. I'll start with the first full sentence. I had a 6-figure income, owned my own home. I had a car. I used ice cubes, for God's sake. Everyone knows an alcoholic, at least one that had to go to AA, is a Skid Row bum in a dirty raincoat drinking from a brown paper bag. This is the point in which I'm like sobbing hysterically. Like, you can't make this up. So each time you read that part in chapter 5 of the big book that says, if you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, my ears closed. You had the disease of alcoholism, and the last thing I wanted was to be an alcoholic. I'll stop there just because of time, but that was the moment that I truly felt powerless. Like, I wanted to go drink because I didn't want to feel my feelings. And that's essentially what this chapter goes on to say. And then I read the big book that night because that was my sign to read the big book. And to become powerless. And I listed ways that I had become powerless. I had listed the ways that I had become unmanageable. Ugh. This is so unattractive. Sorry. Okay. I'll be better prepared for the real class. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I'm kidding. So my sponsor had me list 10 ways that my life had become unmanageable and 10 ways that I became powerless over alcohol. Ways I am powerless over alcohol. Once I start drinking, even when beer, I can't seem to stop. When I am drinking, I will do or make bad choices like text or drive. I have tried to stop drinking altogether, but every time I try, I can't. I don't think about anything but when I can drink next. Alcohol controls my body, my kidney infection, and I still don't care. No amount of wishing this away has worked. 7, despite the concerns expressed to me about my drinking, I couldn't stop. 9 or 8, at one point, I didn't even care if I died for alcohol. I wanted to be numb that bad. 9, despite knowing all of the above, I resisted AA. And 10, I can't do this alone. I am powerless over alcohol. 10 ways my life had become unmanageable. Number 1, my kids. I'm unable to take care of them when I'm drunk. 2, my relationships. I ruined them all. 3, my health. My kidneys infection should not be this frequent. 4, my body. Alcohol is making me regain weight and care less about exercise. 5, my brain, poor memory and concentration. 6, my environment. I need to be alert and functioning in order to build my house. That's sad. I needed to be alert and functioning in order to bury my husband. 7, work and school. I don't seem to get my work done when I'm drinking. 8, poor choices, spending, driving. 9, my mental health, depression, and anxiety increases. 10, my spirituality. It seems lacking when I drink the dark spirits. So that is my personal share on, I have 15 seconds left. So that's what I would share. And I would open it up and say, like, at what point did you realize that your life was powerless? And what point did you realize that your life was unmanageable? At what point did you have that aha moment where I need help? And then that would be my topic meeting. If I was a speaker meeting, I'd go longer into my experience, strength, and hope. But because this is a class and I'm just highlighting a share, I'm going to move on. Now I'm going to do an ACA meeting. They do it a little bit differently. There's a sample format on page 562 in the big red book in the back of it. That's really beautiful. There's a longer meeting intro as opposed to the quick preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I think it's set up so that people understand like the severity of things that come up. It's a more serious nature. So we are a lot more explicit and more boundaries are stated prior to that quick preamble. Because really, we just want you there to be sober. But with ACA, there's a lot of vulnerability that's there, that's present. And they have the same thing, topic meetings, speaker meetings, big red book study meetings. And so tomorrow, because today is the 27th, tomorrow, March 28th, 2023 is my 1-year anniversary with ACA. At this time, I'll stop and share my personal ACA share when called on at a topic meeting. So if I was at a meeting and it was a topic and someone had shared that they said, you know, the topic is this, I would share the part that I that I read a little bit out of 104 and 10 to 106, where that powerlessness that I felt was indescribable. And I couldn't determine what was powerlessness and what was helplessness, learned helplessness. Ironically, the subject on the daily reader today for ACA is this learned helplessness that comes about when you're in ACA, and how to navigate around them, and to really determine what one it is. And you can only do it with the help of a higher power. And honesty. So as I started working 2 programs at 2 years, which apparently most people don't recommend, but I know that that's the path that I had to take to save my life. Due to my religious upbringing and trauma, I couldn't have a higher power in AA help me without an inner loving parent. It just wasn't going to happen. I was going to die. So I've had to adjust some things. So this is what I put. Attending recovery meeting for the first time, I found that people verbal vomit all over the rooms. They can only focus on themselves, their pain, why they're there. And a lot of the times when I will say, when I have been in groups where there's long-term sobriety and we're used to the people that come, we are not used to newcomers, we kind of get stuck in our own rhythm and lather, rinse, repeat. We all have our jobs and we just do it. It's hard to have that compassion when they come in, and that warmth. They're very much new to being woken up. There's so much pain. They're like a baby ripped from the womb. They've been taken, their thing had been taken away, thing that they had become powerless over, because their life was so unmanageable. Maybe it was ripped away from them by the courts, maybe a family thing, a life circumstance out behind their control, whatever. These individuals are seeking spiritual refuge, and they need to be met with love. And we can separate ourselves if they say something that triggers us. As we work our program, I've learned to pause. As I've worked my program, I can really pause as someone says something, even if it is directed directly to me. Has been my experience that as I work my program, I have that ability to pause. My higher power gives me that gift right on the spot. I don't even have to think about it. I shared this last week, but I'll share it again. My tip on honesty. Honesty is only healthy if it's digestible by the receiver. This includes honesty to ourselves. Soften the message like baby food until you can swallow it and work from there. When giving your honest opinion, make sure that the person, the receiver, can digest it. Don't shove a steak down a baby's throat. They'll choke and die. Reminding ourselves, me included, I remind myself, we're all where we're meant to be, and that the steps, the seasons, the months, all these things, they're put in order for a reason. Just be honest where you are. Know that they're cyclical too. You jump in, jump out. It's okay. Just keep coming back, right? It works if you work it. One step at a time. And when in doubt, go soft serve, even if that's to yourself. Even if you have to go to Dairy Queen and get an ice cream cone. Just keep showing up. Next week, we will be reviewing the Apostle Peter and Partridges in a Pear Tree. If you have a Bible, this is the week to bring it. We'll be linking Peter, which is the Aries of the Apostles, who always challenges, or not always, there's that I always and never again, but, oftentimes challenge Jesus, and that Mars energy of the Christ represented in the Bible. I say come next week with an open mind and an open heart. Be prepared to be wowed when we start to translate these languages of spirituality versus religion. Once we start seeing what the spiritual part of the Bible is, we will see how much we all have in common, how much we've all thought the same all along. We just called it different things. And it's this confusion that is talked about in the Bible, Tower of Babel. Okay, so when languages got confused, and that's kind of where we're at in history again. We got all of our languages confused. And now that we have this global wide world, the internet, and we have the communications, we've had the time to not just translate words, but translate spiritual energy in our time and culture. So we'll see how much we have in common. We all are human beings. We all sometimes get a stomach ache when we're nervous. Like there are all these feelings that we feel that are universal human. It's if you're a human being, it's universal to you and to me. Questions I want you guys to consider for next week. How does the idea of honesty resonate with you? What feelings did that bring up for you? How can we make sure our common welfare comes first if you're working a 12-step program? How could a passion placement, your Mars placement, impact one's ability to work step 1 accurately? And if you are in recovery and you understand astrology, I really want you to put those two things together and think about that. How can your anger and your passion impact your ability to work step 1 accurately? How does the feeling powerless or unmanageable feel with your Mars placement? Where is your Mars? What things does your Mars feel powerless over? Does that match what your reality? And if you're attending next week, please read the assignments found on your syllabus. There are more biblical readings and some online readings. So that is it for tonight. Thank you and have a good night. I will see you next week, next Monday, mid-afternoon. I will be done with the next PowerPoint for class 3. And I will record it, and slowly we will build this class. If you build it, they will come. That's what I've been told. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Now I need to end recording.